When money comes from God, keep quiet and stay wise. There is a silence that speaks louder than any word ever spoken. It is the silence of a man who knows where his blessings come from. It is the stillness of a woman who has been through the fire and came out not burned but refined, gold that the furnace could not destroy. This is the silence of the chosen one. And if you are reading this, if something deep inside you stirred when you saw these words, then perhaps this message was written for you. Not for the masses, not for the crowd, for you. Most people will never understand what it means to be chosen. They look at the word and think it means lucky. They think it means favored in the way that someone wins a lottery, random, accidental, without design. But the chosen ones know the truth. They know that being chosen is not a gift handed to you without cost. It is a calling that arrives wrapped in suffering, in confusion, in nights when you question everything you thought you knew about yourself and about God. Being chosen means being tested in ways that would break ordinary people. And the first test, the most important test, is this: can you be trusted with silence? Because the chosen ones carry something the world is not ready to receive. They carry a frequency that most people cannot tune into. They carry a knowing, a deep cellular spiritual knowing, that what is happening in their life is not random. The doors that closed were not failures. The relationships that ended were not losses. The seasons of lack were not punishments. Everything, absolutely everything, was preparation. And the preparation was severe because the assignment is extraordinary. Let us talk about money. Let us talk about what happens when God, the universe, the divine intelligence behind all of creation, decides that it is time for a chosen one to receive. Because this is where the story gets dangerous. This is where the chosen ones make their greatest mistakes. Not in their poverty, not in their struggle, but in their abundance. The moment the blessing arrives, the moment the financial shift happens, the moment the numbers in the account change and the opportunities begin flooding in, that is the moment when a chosen one must be more silent, more wise, more measured than they have ever been in their life. Money that comes from God does not come like money that comes from the world. World money is loud. It announces itself with noise and urgency. It comes with contracts and negotiations and visible explanations. It says, I came because you worked, because you hustled, because you were at the right place at the right time. God money is different. God money is mysterious. It comes through channels you did not engineer. It comes through doors you did not knock on. It comes through connections you did not manufacture. It comes in moments when you were actually in your quietest season, in your most surrendered state, when you had stopped forcing and started trusting. And when it comes, the first emotion is not celebration. The first emotion is awe. Deep, reverent, almost frightening awe. Because you know, in your bones, in your soul, that this did not come from you. And that knowledge is the beginning of wisdom. That awe is the seed of everything that follows. Because the moment you forget where the money came from, the moment you start believing the story that your cleverness or your strategy or your connections produced this, that is the moment the protection lifts. That is the moment you become vulnerable to the pride that precedes every fall. The ancient texts are full of this warning. Every tradition, every culture, every piece of sacred literature that has survived the centuries speaks about this truth in one form or another. The Quran speaks of it. The Bible is saturated with it. The Vedas whisper it. The Tao points toward it. The chosen ones throughout history, the ones who sustained their blessings, who built legacies that outlasted their own lifetimes, they all understood this single, non-negotiable principle: humility before the source. But humility is not weakness. This is the misunderstanding that ruins the chosen ones who almost made it. They confuse humility with smallness. They confuse silence with surrender. They think that keeping quiet means being invisible, being passive, being without power. No, the wisdom being spoken of here is something far more sophisticated and far more powerful than that. Think of the ocean at its depths. At the surface there is noise, waves crashing, wind disrupting, constant visible chaos. But go deep enough and you will find a stillness that is more powerful than any storm. The pressure at the bottom of the ocean would crush most things. It is not empty, it is not passive, it is supremely powerful, supremely dense, supremely present, and it moves in ways that the surface cannot perceive. The chosen one, who understands their assignment, learns to live at that depth. They let the surface show whatever it shows. They let the world see the polished exterior, the composed face, the measured words, while the real power, the real movement, the real decisions happen in the depths where no one can see. This is the art of keeping quiet. It is not about hiding, it is about protecting, because not everyone in your life is at the same spiritual frequency as you. Not everyone who smiles at you is genuinely glad for your success. The human heart is complicated, and envy is one of its oldest residents. You do not need to be angry about this. You do not need to judge the people around you who carry this shadow. But you do need to be wise enough to understand that when God money arrives, when the blessing begins to manifest in visible material ways, the energy in the room shifts. And some of that shift is not in your favor. There is a concept known across many cultures, the evil eye, the jinx, the nazar, and while the superstitious interpretation varies, the underlying spiritual truth is consistent. There is an energy that leaves certain people when they observe someone else's success, and that energy is not neutral. The emotion of envy, when it is strong enough and focused enough, carries a frequency that can genuinely disrupt, not because of magic, because of spiritual law. Energy is real, intention is real. The attention of eyes filled with resentment creates a real disturbance in the field of someone's blessing. The chosen ones learn to minimize this, not by becoming arrogant or secretive in a fearful way, but by simply choosing who gets access to their testimony. Not everyone deserves to know what God is doing in your life. This is not arrogance, this is discernment. Not everyone is ready to celebrate your miracle without being destabilized by it. When you share your blessing with someone who is carrying unresolved pain about their own lack, you are not blessing them, you are triggering them. And the relationship between your blessing and their trigger creates a friction that neither of you needs. The wise thing, the loving thing, is to be selective. Share your testimony with those who are genuinely free. Share your abundance with those who can receive it without being diminished by it. And for everyone else, offer presence, offer kindness, offer your energy, but keep the details close. This is what the chosen ones learn, often through painful experience. They experience the blessing. They announce it out of joy, out of relief, out of the natural human desire to share good news. And then something shifts. The very people they told become sources of interference, not always through intentional sabotage, sometimes through subtle discouragement. Be careful, they say, or don't spend too much, or are you sure this is sustainable? And those words, coming at the exact moment when faith is required to keep moving, those words do more damage than an outright attack, because they disguise themselves as wisdom. They wear the costume of care. And the chosen one, who loves the people around them, absorbs those words and begins to question the very miracle that God orchestrated. Learn to keep quiet until the thing is done. Learn to stay silent until the building is built, the contract is signed, the harvest is in. Talk to God about it. Write about it in a private place. Hold it in your body and feel the gratitude of it. But resist the urge to broadcast the seed before it becomes the tree. The world cannot nurture seeds, it can only admire trees, and even trees need to be strong before they are exposed to every wind. Now let us talk about the deepest layer of this, because keeping quiet and staying wise is not only about protecting yourself from others. The most important protection is from yourself. The chosen one's greatest enemy is never outside, it is always within. It is the part of you that was formed in scarcity, in lack, in the seasons of not enough, and that part of you does not know how to receive. When the money arrives, when the blessing manifests, that wounded inner part begins to panic. It begins to act out in ways that can destroy everything God just built. And the acting out looks different for different people. For some, it looks like spending immediately and compulsively, as if the money will disappear unless you use it before it can leave. This is the scarcity wound expressing itself in abundance. The poverty mindset, given access to resources, will always spend as fast as it can because deep down it believes the abundance is temporary. And sometimes, because of this belief and the behavior it creates, the abundance becomes temporary, not because God withdrew the blessing, but because the receiver was not yet transformed enough to steward it. For others, the acting out looks like telling everyone, broadcasting the blessing, wearing it visibly, making sure the people who doubted them know that they have arrived. This is the wound of not being seen, not being validated, finding its moment of relief in the material world. And it feels so justified in the moment. I suffered, I struggled, I was overlooked and underestimated. I deserve to be seen. And yes, you do deserve to be seen, but not by the wrong eyes, not in the wrong moment, not in a way that hands your blessing to the same people whose envy helped delay it. The wisdom is this: heal the wound before the blessing, or the blessing will expose the wound. And if the wound is not healed when the money arrives, do the healing work anyway. Do it with urgency, because the window between receiving and stewarding is shorter than most people realize, and a wound that is not addressed will always find a way to express itself through your decisions. The chosen ones who sustain their wealth, not just temporarily, but generationally, spiritually, in ways that last. They are the ones who did the inner work. They are the ones who looked at themselves honestly and said, I was broken in this area. God has trusted me with resources. I need to become a different version of myself to honor this trust. They sought mentors. They sought wisdom. They read. They prayed. They sat with silence long enough to hear the correction that their own souls were offering them. They let the abundance reveal their gaps, and then they filled those gaps with intention. This is what staying wise means. It does not mean being financially sophisticated, though that is part of it. It does not mean having the right investment strategy, though that matters too. Staying wise means knowing that you are in a covenant relationship with the source of your blessing, and that covenants have terms. The term of this covenant is stewardship. It is using what you have been given in alignment with the reason it was given, and the reason it was given is always larger than you. The chosen ones do not receive for themselves alone. This is one of the hardest truths to fully receive, because the ego wants the blessing to be personal, a reward for suffering, a compensation for sacrifice. And in one sense it is. The comfort and the provision that come are genuinely for you and your family and your immediate circle. But the larger blessing, the extraordinary financial shift that goes beyond basic comfort, that moves into the territory of real wealth, that is always for a mission, always. Every chosen one who has ever walked this earth and received a significant divine financial blessing has eventually discovered that the money came with an assignment. The assignment might be to provide for children who cannot provide for themselves. It might be to fund a creative work that needs to exist in the world. It might be to rebuild a community, to create employment, to be a channel through which resources flow to people who have been forgotten. The form of the assignment varies infinitely, but the structure is consistent. The money was not just for the receiver. The receiver was chosen to be a steward of a larger purpose. And the ones who align with that purpose, they find that the money keeps coming. They find that every time they give in alignment with their assignment, the source replenishes. They find that generosity, true generosity, not performative giving, designed to be seen, but quiet, purposeful, aligned giving, opens channels that cannot be opened any other way. This is the mystery of divine economics. It does not follow the rules of scarcity. It operates in a different realm entirely. In the realm of scarcity, giving means having less. In the realm of divine abundance, giving in alignment with your assignment means having access to more. Not always immediately, not always visibly, but consistently, faithfully, over time. The chosen ones learn to trust this. It requires a kind of faith that is almost irrational by worldly standards. It requires giving when the logical mind says, hold on, protect what you have. It requires releasing when every fear-based instinct says, accumulate. And it is in that act of releasing, of trusting the source enough to let go of what the source gave you, that the covenant is renewed, that the flow is maintained, that the next wave of provision is invited. But there is a counterbalance to this, and the wisdom tradition requires that it be stated clearly. Generosity without wisdom is not virtue. Giving to the wrong people, in the wrong ways, for the wrong reasons, this is not alignment, this is confusion. And it is another trap that the chosen ones fall into. The heart opens when the blessing comes. Old wounds around lack heal in the presence of abundance, and the joy of that healing creates a desire to share. And this is beautiful, but it must be governed by discernment. Not every person who comes toward you with a need is meant to receive from you. Not every cause that presents itself to your awareness is your assignment. The enemy of a chosen one's resources is not always greed. Sometimes it is misplaced generosity. The person who gives away everything they receive without discernment, who says yes to every request because they feel guilty having more than others, who confuses compassion with compliance, this person will find themselves back in lack, not because God withdrew the blessing, but because the steward was not guarding the resource. You cannot water every plant. You can only tend your garden, and your garden was assigned to you specifically. Learn to listen to the distinction between a God assignment and a guilt trip. Learn to feel the difference between genuine alignment and social pressure. Learn to say no, kindly, firmly, without explanation, to the people and causes that pull on your resources from a place of entitlement rather than genuine need. This is not cruelty. This is stewardship, and the source honors it. Now let us speak directly to the one who is in the waiting season, the one who has not yet seen the financial manifestation, who is reading these words in a season of lack and wondering when, if ever, the shift will come, because the chosen ones do not always receive immediately. Sometimes the waiting is part of the preparation, and the waiting is never wasted, even though it feels like it is. In the waiting, the character is being formed that the wealth requires. The patience you are developing right now, that patience will be the quality that keeps you grounded when the abundance arrives and everyone around you loses their minds in the excitement of what God has done for you. The discipline you are practicing in scarcity, the habit of saving even small amounts, the practice of giving even when you barely have enough, that discipline is the seed of the financial wisdom you will need when the amounts increase dramatically. The humility you are learning in the season of being overlooked and underestimated, that humility will protect you from the pride that destroys so many who receive great blessings. The waiting is not punishment. The waiting is a sacred forge, and the more severe the waiting, the more extraordinary the assignment. This is not always comforting in the moment. The person who has been waiting for 20 years will find this difficult to receive with peace. But the chosen ones who look back over the arc of their lives eventually see it clearly. The length of the waiting corresponded precisely to the scale of what was being prepared, and everything that happened in the waiting was building exactly the person that the assignment required. So if you are in the waiting, here is the wisdom. Do not waste it. Do not spend the waiting season in bitterness or in passive resignation. Spend it in preparation. Read everything. Learn everything. Study the financial world, yes, but also study yourself. Study your wounds and your patterns and the places where your thinking still reflects scarcity, even when you believe in abundance. Study your relationships and decide which ones are aligned with who you are becoming. Pray, meditate, create, serve. Build the habits now that the wealth will require later. Become, in your character and your spiritual posture, the person who is ready to receive, and the receiving will follow. And when it comes, because it will come, for the one who is truly chosen and truly prepared, remember these words. When money comes from God, it comes as a stewardship, it comes as a covenant, it comes as an assignment wrapped in provision. The appropriate response is not noise, it is not performance, it is not the immediate satisfaction of every desire that was suppressed during the long years of waiting. The appropriate response is a deep, quiet, reverent thank you, spoken in private, felt in the body, lived out in the decisions that follow. Keep quiet. Let the miracle mature before you expose it to the world. Let the roots go deep before the tree is visible. Let the foundation be established before the building rises, because the world will see it eventually. The chosen ones always become visible eventually. But there is a right time and a right way for visibility, and that time is determined by the source, not by your impatience to be seen. Stay wise. Surround yourself with counsel that has genuinely navigated what you are navigating, not people who have only read about it, people who have lived it, people who know what it means to receive a supernatural financial blessing and to steward it over years, over decades, across generations. Those people exist. Find them, learn from them. They will tell you things that no book will tell you, because they carry the knowledge in their bodies, in their scars, in the wisdom that only comes from experience. And most importantly, stay connected to the source. Do not let the abundance become the thing you worship. Do not let the money become your God. It is a blessing from God. The moment you elevate the blessing above the one who blessed you, the whole thing begins to shift. Not as punishment. The source does not operate in punishment, but as natural law. When the river is dammed and not allowed to flow in the direction of its source, it stagnates. When the chosen one disconnects from the spiritual source of their provision and begins to trust only in the material mechanisms of wealth, the vitality of the blessing diminishes. The accounts may remain full for a while, but the joy is gone, the peace is gone. The sense of meaning and purpose that made the money feel like more than money, that is gone. And a chosen one living in abundance without spiritual connection is one of the saddest things in existence. They have everything and they feel nothing. Do not let this be your story. Stay connected, stay grateful, stay humble, stay silent when silence is required. Stay bold when boldness is required. Because the chosen ones are also called to speak at certain moments, to lead at certain moments, to be visible at certain moments. The wisdom is in knowing which moment requires which response, and that knowing comes from the same source that sent the blessing. You are not ordinary. You have known this for a long time, perhaps your entire life. The sense of being different, of carrying something that others do not seem to carry, of seeing the world from an angle that others cannot quite access. This was not imagination. This was a signal that you were designed for something larger than average, called to something that exceeds the ordinary boundaries of what most people believe is possible. But the chosen ones do not move in arrogance about their choosing. The chosen ones move in reverence about it. They feel the weight of it. They feel the responsibility of it. They understand that being chosen is not a trophy, it is a commission, and they accept that commission with both joy and sobriety. Joy because the assignment is extraordinary. Sobriety because the assignment requires everything they have. When the money comes, and it will come, let it confirm what you already know, rather than change who you already are. Let it be the resource that funds the mission, not the reward that ends the growth. Let it deepen your faith rather than replace it. Let it expand your compassion rather than narrow your circle. Let it make you more generous, more disciplined, more awake, more aligned with the original design for your life. Keep quiet about the miracle until the miracle is established. Stay wise about how you move, who you trust, where you give, and what you build. And in the depths of your heart, in the private place where you and the Source communicate, let your gratitude be so vast, so complete, so overflowing that no words could contain it. Because this is the posture of the truly chosen, not loud, not performing, not seeking validation, simply aligned, simply awake, simply grateful, simply ready for what comes next. Because there is always a next. For the chosen ones, the blessing is not a single event. It is an ongoing relationship with the divine. It is a conversation that deepens with every season. It is a trust that grows with every test passed. And each level brings a new depth, a new challenge, a new assignment that is more profound than the last. The chosen ones do not arrive at a destination and rest permanently. They are always moving, always growing, always being stretched into a larger version of themselves. This is the life you signed up for, not with a formal contract, with your very being, with the soul that was given to you before you were born into this body, with the assignment that was written into your existence before you took your first breath in this world. You are not here by accident. You are not here without purpose. You are not struggling or waiting or receiving without reason. You are chosen, and the one who chose you does not make mistakes. Keep quiet, stay wise, and watch what the Source does next. Written for those who know and for those who are just beginning to remember.